The website Parenting Smart has a short article on the importance of limits and consequences for children. It says, limits and consequences teach children to make good choices. In the Caillou TV series, Caillou's dad, Boris, puts limits in place to a, if you'll excuse the pun, limited extent. In Caillou Goes to the Circus, Caillou crosses the line here by losing control.
It's today!
Come on, Caillou. Come downstairs and help me make breakfast.
No, I don't want to. Silly old car! Silly!
Caillou was in a very bad mood because he wasn't going to the circus.
Through his stern tone of voice, Boris gives a verbal warning to Caillou, demonstrating to his son that his behaviour is unacceptable.
Caillou, stop all this racket. You woke up Rosie. I want you to come downstairs right now.
Boris puts in place a limit for Caillou. According to Parenting Smart, limits are like lines on a sports field. If you cross them, the consequence is the game stops, or someone gets a penalty. Children can understand limits and consequences in the same way. Caillou really should have faced a consequence for his actions, but at least he will have developed an understanding that he's gone beyond the limit. Boris does okay here, 6.5 out of 10. Conversely, in the original book, Caillou, the Circus Parade, Boris just lies down and takes it. His son's tantrum not only goes unpunished, it goes completely unremarked upon. Let's have a little read. Caillou was brushing his teeth when Daddy came into the room looking sleepy. Already dressed, Caillou? Good for you. But why so early? I don't want to be late for the circus, said Caillou. The circus? But that's not until tomorrow. Caillou started to cry. No, it's today, he insisted. I got all dressed. It's today. Come on, said Daddy. Let's make breakfast. But I want to go to the circus, yelled Caillou. So, you see it in black and white. Caillou yells at his father, but then you turn to the next page and it's as if he hasn't. It genuinely feels like the book has a page missing or something. Caillou went to the kitchen and sat down at the table. Let's make toast, said Daddy. We can cut it into little duckies, like Grandma does. Duckies are for babies, grumbled Caillou. Daddy smiled. How about a circus breakfast instead? We'll cut the toast into circus animals, said Daddy. Why don't you do anything, Boris? Your kid yelled at you. Do something. You're doing permissive parenting and it's like not okay. According to the website Choosing Therapy, permissive parenting involves abundant parental love and warmth, but a lack of boundaries, rules and expectations. The first example on the list they give to demonstrate the permissive parenting style, giving into tantrums. It's unlikely this parenting style would work for the vast majority of kids across the globe, but it certainly doesn't work for a child like Caillou. He really needs and would benefit from clear boundaries put in place by his parents. Rather than simply pretend that Caillou did not lash out, Boris could have said something like, yelling at Daddy is not okay. Let's take a few minutes to calm down and then we can talk. Then, Caillou could have been encouraged to apologise to his father for yelling at him. This would teach Caillou the meaning of accountability and respect. It's absolutely wild, though, to just pretend that this isn't happening. It's really not benefiting anybody in the long run, least of all Caillou. Shame on you, Boris! Boris's failure to take any action is actually failing his son. As it says in the Parenting Smart article, limits and consequences teach children to make good choices. If Caillou had been given an appropriate sanction, and if he had had his misbehaviour explained to him in a clear and calm way by his dad, then he would be far less likely to repeat the behaviour. The thing is, you can't actually blame Caillou for his tantrum in this instance. For one, he's just a baby. For two, it says in the Place to Be article that it's completely natural for children to test limits to see how far they can stretch them. Sorry, Caillou haters, his behaviour is age appropriate. It's Boris who's to blame. Setting boundaries for Caillou would help his development and make him into a better person as he grows older. When parents set clear limits, then it allows the child to create their own boundaries to say no to situations that may hurt them, according to Parenting Smart. Caillou's total and utter lack of limits is probably why he crosses boundaries that other children would find uncrossable. Like the time that he bites his baby sister Rosie, which I explored in a previous video. Rosie will suffer due to Boris's consequence-free, permissive parenting style. It only emboldens Caillou. Boris's parenting style in the books is absolutely insane, you know? It lurches from meek, permissive parent in one book to authoritarian nightmare in the next one. We can see this in the book, Caillou Hurry Up. This book is totally wild for one reason and one reason only. It will make you feel sorry for Caillou. Seriously. The story begins with the alarm clock going off. Mummy and Daddy jump out of bed. They're late. I'll read you the next bit, as I want you to sort of have a taste of the OG Caillou book. So, let's have a little read. "We're late, Caillou. Hurry up and get dressed," said Daddy. "I'll make breakfast." Mummy dashed into the shower. Caillou kept on playing. So, Caillou's being disobedient, naturally, but remember, we can't hate on him for this, because, as it said in the Parenting Smart article, it's completely natural for children to test limits to see how far they can stretch them. No Caillou hate today, bros. "Caillou, go and have your breakfast right now," Mummy called out. Caillou went down to the kitchen. He saw a mess on the floor. "Gilbert knocked the plant over," Caillou announced. "Oh no," groaned Daddy. He set his cup down on the table with a bang. Then he flung open the door and put the cat out. Boris is stressed. He's slamming the door, he's banging his cup down, he's proper angry. He's gonna take it out on someone. I wonder who. Smash like if you already know who's gonna take the fall. Muttering, Daddy wiped up the mess. He noticed that Caillou was still in his pajamas. "Caillou, how many times have I told you to get dressed?" "If only you were this assertive in the last book we looked at, Boris. 'Cause, seriously, Caillou ain't done nothing wrong here, dude." Mummy came into the kitchen just as Caillou was on his way out. She looked annoyed. "Caillou, hurry up and have your breakfast." Caillou was confused. He didn't know whether to eat or get dressed. Receiving mixed messages from your parents? Wow, that's not a very easy thing for a baby in particular to process. So, are you feeling any sympathy for Caillou yet? Just a teeny bit, maybe? Go on, admit it. You're feeling sorry for the little guy, aren't ya? Gilbert was meowing at the door. Caillou ran to let him in. "Caillou!" yelled Daddy. "Leave the cat outside! We're in a hurry! Go get dressed!" Caillou didn't like it when Daddy yelled. Boris is shouting now, but unlike in the circus parade, Caillou has literally done nothing wrong. There's actually a scientific reason as to why Boris is acting like this, which I'll explain after we've read one more page together. Daddy lost his temper. "Caillou, that's enough! Now go get dressed and have your breakfast!" Caillou was unhappy when Daddy raised his voice. Caillou wanted to let the cat in and go to Grandma's. He started to cry. This article, called How to Set Limits for Kids Without Harshness, Fear or Shame by Sarah McLaughlin, completely nails why Boris is acting the way that he is. It says, "When your child behaves in a rude or unsafe manner and your fuse has gotten short, emotions will run high. In the worst of these scenarios, your amygdala hijacks your prefrontal cortex and floods your body with adrenaline and cortisol, sending you into fight or flight mode. Once your downstairs brain has taken over, your ability to think is diminished, you are emotionally unregulated, and your perception of the situation is likely skewed. At this point, you are no longer a rational human." Caillou! Caillou's dad is no longer emotionally regulating himself. Paradoxically, he's acting just like Caillou did in the Circus Parade book. It's a high-stress situation. They all woke up late, and now they're trying to get ready in a rush. But this does not excuse Boris's reaction, which is unacceptable whichever way that you look at it. He's an adult, and he should be able to regulate himself better than his toddler son. Conversely, in fairness to Boris, he does at least apologise to Caillou. Daddy sighed and walked over to Caillou. He gently picked him up and sat him on his knee. "Caillou, I'm sorry I lost my temper and raised my voice." That's kinda sweet, actually. Should we forgive Boris? I mean, he's a slave to his amygdala, just like the rest of us. He even explains to Caillou why he was in such a bad mood. "Rosie was sick all night, so Mummy and I didn't get much sleep. We're not having a very good morning, but things will be better tomorrow." So, a happy ending. Of sorts. One last note about the Caillou series that is kind of weird. On the Chouette Publishing website, there is an FAQ section. The first question reads, "Why are Caillou's parents so perfect?"
What?
The publishing company thinks that Boris and Doris are perfect? Have you even read the books that you're pumping out, Chouette? You've got a schizophrenic dad, for one, who's either ultra harsh or super permissive, depending on which book that you read. Anyway, let's read their response. "We develop books that take place first and foremost through the eyes of a child, rather than reflecting reality as seen by adults. Thus, all Caillou books are told from Caillou's point of view. Caillou's mummy and daddy are not the epitome of good parents. Caillou is at the stage in his development when parents are models to be imitated. In his idealized world, his parents are perfect. He is so busy learning and developing as a person that he doesn't question the world around himself yet. Chouette's publishing does not wish to devalue parents or give them the impression they are not equal to Caillou's parents. Caillou's adventures are primarily intended for children, but they can also serve as a beacon for their parents. They contain key elements to the problems adults can experience with their own Caillou. So, this is kind of wild. Whilst acknowledging that Boris and Doris aren't in fact perfect parents, they do seem to think, the publishing company that is, that they are really, really good parents. They're basically saying that they can be used as role models for parents when they're reading the books to their kids. They use that specific word, don't they? They use the word beacon. To my mind, the publishers have missed the point here. I actually think that showing imperfect parents within a book can be quite a useful teaching tool when parents are reading books to their own children. After all, parents are human beings too, they're going to make mistakes, and it's okay for their own children to be aware of that fact. It's just kind of strange that this doesn't actually seem to have been the publisher's intention. It's crazy how unknown the books are compared to the TV show. The books read aloud on YouTube have only a few thousand views, compared to the hundreds of thousands of viewers that tune in for the TV episodes. Seeing as this is somewhat uncharted territory within the Caillou universe, I'm going to keep digging and see what I can find with regards to the books. Smash subscribe to stay up to date with my latest Caillou deep dives. Snipe, snap, out.